Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a stack of information and distill it into the crucial insights you need to be truly well informed. Today, we're setting our sights on India, a nation undergoing, well, rapid and fascinating transformations across its economy, technology, society, and its geopolitical standing.
And what's truly compelling here is that we have a really robust set of sources, basically a collection of today's top headlines right out of India. It gives us not just a snapshot, but, a dynamic, multifaceted view of the major shifts happening right now. Our mission for you, the listener, is to cut through the noise, connect the dots between these seemingly disparate news
All
items.
right, see how they link up.
Exactly. And understand not just what's happening on the surface, but, why it profoundly matters for India's future and, of course, its role on the global stage.
And we've got quite a range today, from these seismic shifts rocking its foundational tech industry because of AI, to crucial debates on national security and strategic autonomy. From bold economic policy changes trying to attract global capital, to some intriguing social innovations, and even a deep dive into its passionate relationship with cricket. We're really going to explore the multifaceted landscape of contemporary India.
Yeah, it's quite a mix.
Get ready for some surprising facts, essential context, and hopefully a lot of food for thought.
The tech transformation and turbulence, AI's double-edged sword in India's IT sector.
Okay, let's kick things off with a major headline. This one's sending ripples, maybe even waves, across India's absolutely foundational IT sector. We're talking about Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, making a really significant move.
Yeah, this is big news. Over 12,000 job cuts we're hearing.
It's the number. More than 12,000, primarily hitting middle and senior management roles. And it's all framed, as a strategic necessity. They're calling it getting future ready for the AI era.
Future ready, right.
Ah,
But this isn't just a TCS story, is it?
Not at all. It feels like a powerful reflection of these broader systemic challenges facing India's massive $283 billion software industry, an industry that, for decades has really relied on providing cost-effective, highly skilled labor to global clients. That was the model.
It was. And a crucial aspect here is that this signals a fundamental reevaluation, a rethinking of the very business models that have long underpinned India's global IT prowess.
How so? Exactly.
Well, the traditional reliance on manpower-based efficiencies. Think vast teams handling routine software maintenance, repetitive data entry, maybe even initial coding drafts.
Right, the sheer scale of people.
Precisely. That's now rapidly giving way to innovation-driven solutions powered by automation, and particularly generative AI. This isn't just about, doing things faster. It's about a complete redefinition of tasks.
Redefinition.
Yeah, generative AI can now write complex code, it can debug, it can even design new applications. That fundamentally shifts demand towards engineers who can manage and build these AI tools.
Rather than just executing repetitive tasks.
Exactly. And TCS itself has been quite open about this.
Yeah.
They're saying these layoffs stem partly from reskilling limitations within their workforce. They're noting that non-deployable employees are being released, even after internal efforts to redeploy talent into these new AI-centric roles.
Wow, non-deployable, that's a stark term.
It is, and it brings up a vital question. How does a country globally renowned for its vast IT workforce adapt when the very nature of that work is changing so rapidly, so fundamentally, almost, overnight?
That's a powerful point. So this isn't just an isolated incident at TCS then, is it? Are we seeing similar tremors across the entire Indian IT landscape?
Oh, absolutely. You can think of it as an industry-wide seismic shift. We are indeed seeing a pervasive trend. These managerial roles, especially those that oversaw large teams doing more routine, traditional IT services, they're being eliminated in favor of doers.
Doers. So
Yeah, the people who can contribute directly to advanced tech functions, the AI architects, the machine learning engineers, cybersecurity specialists, cloud infrastructure experts, you name it.
So demand for those skills is up, presumably.
It is. Hiring in those hot new areas has undeniably surged. But, and this is the crucial part, it's tragically lagging behind the sheer scale of the job cuts in the older, more traditional roles.
Ah, so it's not a one-for-one replacement.
Not even close. And this points directly to a sharp skills mismatch crisis. The projections from industry bodies, from research firms, they're quite stark. India needs an estimated 1 million AI professionals by 2026.
1 million.
1 million. Yet currently, fewer than 20% of its existing IT workers are proficient in AI.
Okay, that's a massive gap.
It's huge. Now, tech firms are investing heavily in upskilling programs. Many are spending millions trying to retrain their workforce. But those individuals without the relevant new capabilities are finding themselves increasingly vulnerable to job loss.
Mm.
Economist Rishi Shah put it quite succinctly. He said companies are actively reevaluating their entire workforce structures to prioritize roles that truly complement AI capabilities rather than those being replaced by them.
So it's a shift from quantity to quality, in a sense.
Exactly. It's not just about reducing headcounts. It's a profound shift away from that sheer numbers game where the quantity of labor was king to one of specialized synergistic talent, where the quality and, importantly, the type of skill are paramount.
That's a huge and, frankly, somewhat unsettling transformation, and it has to extend beyond just the corporate bottom line, right?
Right.
What are the broader implications for India's economic fabric, its social fabric? I'm thinking about the cities that have become almost synonymous with India's tech boom.
You're absolutely right to broaden the scope. This isn't just about individual job losses or even a skills gap. It had profound implications. The very cities that have thrived as IT hubs, places like Bengaluru, often called the Silicon Valley of India, Hyderabad, Pune,
Yeah, the big tech centers.
they're feeling the immediate and acute impact. These cities were really built on the promise of IT jobs. We're talking about the potential undermining of India's middle-class aspirations. Well, for decades, those aspirations were directly tied to stable, well-paying IT careers. For so many people, an IT job was the pathway to upward mobility, buying a home, securing their children's education. This shakeup risks derailing the entire trajectory for a significant number of people.
And are we seeing that in the hiring numbers already?
We are. There are structural growth concerns across the entire IT sector, net hiring. It slowed significantly since the fiscal year 2022. And a major driver is weakened demand, especially from the U.S., which remarkably accounts for fully half of the Indian IT sector's total revenue.
Half. Wow. Why the weakened demand?
Analysts point to a confluence of factors, things like shifting trade policies. The protectionist stances, the tariffs we saw during the Trump era certainly didn't help, but also increasingly client demand for lower costs.
Because of AI productivity gains.
Precisely. Clients are saying, look, AI can do some of this now, we expect lower prices. The statistics really paint a stark picture. In 2024 alone, an estimated 50,000 IT professionals lost their jobs.
50.
And India's top 6 IT firms collectively saw a staggering 72% drop in net employee additions. That's a massive slowdown. The ripple effect on those urban centers, on individual families, it must be immense, impacting everything from housing markets to consumer spending.
So the core insight here isn't just whether India can pivot, but maybe whether this AI disruption forces India to fundamentally reevaluate its entire education system, its innovation culture. Could it potentially leapfrog traditional development models?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
The risk isn't just job loss, but maybe missing the chance to become a global AI creator rather than just a service provider, a far more profound challenge to its economic identity.
Exactly. This brings up that critical question. Can India pivot fast enough to truly leverage AI for growth, rather than seeing it purely as an existential threat to its existing workforce? The fundamental challenge is to transform this profound disruption into a genuine opportunity for higher value innovation.
Moving up the value chain.
Precisely. Moving beyond just being a service provider and becoming a creator of new AI-powered solutions, defining the next generation of digital services globally.
Yeah.
But that requires a systemic overhaul,
Yeah.
from university curricula to corporate training programs, prioritizing deep learning and critical thinking skills over just rote execution.
A massive undertaking.
No doubt about it.
Geopolitics and strategic autonomy narratives of conflict and influence.
Okay, let's shift gears now, moving from economic disruption to a deeply sensitive and highly significant area, national security and geopolitics. A major headline here involves India's defense minister, Rajnath Singh. He's firmly rejecting claims. Well, specifically claims that U.S. President Donald Trump brokered a ceasefire between India and Pakistan.
Right. This follows that intense military conflict back in May 2025.
Exactly. Singh was unequivocal. He stated India concluded its operations only after achieving all its predefined political and military objectives. He insisted the decision to cease operations was strategic, made solely by India, and not externally pressured in any way.
And the context of these remarks is absolutely paramount to understanding their significance.
Where did he say this?
He delivered them in Parliament, specifically during a session addressing that brutal April 22nd terror attack in Indian Kashmir. That was the attack where 26 Hindu pilgrims were tragically killed.
Okay. The trigger for the conflict.
Precisely. That attack was the direct catalyst for a 4-day military confrontation with Pakistan. And importantly, this marked the most serious escalation between these nuclear-armed neighbors in nearly 30 years. The intensity was palpable, reports of cross-border shelling, heightened military
A
alerts.
very tense time.
Extremely. So Singh's emphatic insistence that the mission was completed on India's terms, in his direct quote, to suggest that the operation was called off under pressure is baseless and entirely incorrect. That's absolutely central to understanding India's strategic autonomy narrative.
Explain that narrative a bit more.
It emphasizes India's right and its capability to act independently in its national interest, particularly concerning its security, without bowing to external influence. And interestingly, coinciding with Singh's statement, the Indian Army also reported killing 3 suspected terrorists in a gunfight in Kashmir. Local media suggested a potential link to that April pilgrimage attack, though, official verification wasn't immediately possible. But it all serves to reinforce this narrative of decisive, independent action, especially at a time of heightened domestic scrutiny.
And this strong denial of external influence, it seems to tie directly into another significant political development. Congress MP Priyanka Gandhi Vadra has publicly questioned External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's parliamentary statement regarding Operation Sindoor. That was India's military offensive after that same April terror attack.
Yes, her critique is quite pointed. It reveals, I think, a deeper political tug-of-war playing out.
What exactly is she contesting in his explanation?
Gandhi argues that Jaishankar's explanation lacked sufficient clarity about potential U.S. involvement in the subsequent ceasefire. Now, Jaishankar did state that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had no direct contact with U.S. President Donald Trump during that specific period.
Okay.
But Gandhi specifically highlights that he did not categorically deny that the United States might have influenced the cessation of hostilities through other channels, maybe through diplomatic efforts.
So she's pointing out an omission or perhaps a careful wording.
Exactly. This deliberate ambiguity, or at least this perceived lack of transparency, has significantly intensified the debate over India's strategic autonomy in national security matters. And it's especially sensitive because, U.S. officials had previously suggested, perhaps through back channels or quiet diplomacy, that they might have played a role in ending the conflict.
Right, so there's a contrast there.
A subtle but significant contrast with India's consistent public stance of entirely independent action. It creates a bit of a diplomatic tightrope walk.
This brings up a vital question then. How much of this is about genuine policy and diplomatic nuance, and how much is political maneuvering? Especially with general elections potentially on the horizon in India. It seems both sides are trying to control the narrative here.
Indeed. It's a really complex interplay of diplomacy, domestic politics, and national identity. And it significantly intensifies the discourse on terrorism, regional stability, and, crucially, the very limits of foreign involvement in South Asia's complex geopolitics.
So both statements matter domestically as much as internationally.
Absolutely. Both Singh's forceful denial and Gandhi's pointed critique underscore this broader, heightened tension surrounding India's strategic autonomy. The government, particularly under Prime Minister Modi, is clearly keen to reinforce its narrative of self-directed success, military capability, and unflinching national resolve. That plays very well with a nationalist-leaning voter base.
And the opposition.
Meanwhile, the opposition, represented here by Priyanka Gandhi and the Congress Party, is pushing for greater accountability and transparency on foreign policy and defense matters. Her remarks essentially imply that the Modi administration might have understated or perhaps selectively framed international influence to bolster its image of strategic independence and military success.
Which becomes a campaign issue.
Exactly. It becomes a crucial campaign point ahead of India's upcoming general elections, where defense credibility, foreign alignment, and security policy are always central issues. Singh's remarks weren't just about setting the record straight internationally, they were crucially about bolstering political credibility domestically. Appealing to those sentiments of national pride and strength, this narrative of strategic independence is a powerful political tool, shaping public perception of leadership and national competence.
Oh, a lot of layers there.
Definitely.
Economic shifts and investment attractiveness. Opening doors to capital.
Okay, moving from military strategy back to economic strategy. Here's a headline that signals, well, another major shift, this time in India's financial landscape. India has raised the foreign direct investment cap, the FDI cap, for insurance companies from 74% to a full 100%.
A full 100%. That's quite a leap.
It is. It's a huge move, really aimed at attracting sustained foreign capital, enhancing competition in the insurance sector, and crucially, expanding insurance coverage across the nation. It sounds like a big open for business sign for international investors.
Yeah, and a key point to grasp here is Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's clear emphasis on what this practically means. It eliminates the need for foreign investors to partner with Indian firms for that remaining 26% equity.
Cuts out the joint venture requirement.
Exactly. It significantly eases both entry and ongoing operations for international players. Fewer bureaucratic hurdles, potentially different capital requirements compared to finding and managing a local partner. She framed it as unlocking the full potential of India's insurance sector. And importantly, that sector is projected to grow at an impressive 7.1% annually from 2024 to 2028.
7.1% annually. That's strong.
Very strong. It's a rate that's set to outperform most global and G20 markets. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's based on solid demographic trends, rising incomes, and currently low insurance penetration.
So what does the government hope this influx of foreign capital will achieve?
Well, the expectation is that this increased FDI will facilitate technology transfer, bringing in advanced actuarial models, digital claims processing, cutting-edge product development from global leaders. It's also expected to foster a more competitive ecosystem, potentially boosting the number of insurers operating in India, which currently suffers from significant underpenetration compared to developed economies.
Right, more choice for consumers, potentially lower prices.
That's the hope. More competition usually drives innovation and better value. It's worth noting, too, that this provision is enabling, not mandatory, meaning individual firms still retain autonomy over their equity structure. It depends on their own capital needs, solvency requirements, growth strategies. So, while foreign companies can own 100%, they don't have to.
Got it. Is there already significant foreign investment in the sector?
There is. As of December 2024, Indian life insurers had equity capital of around 24,110 crore. That's roughly $2.9 billion USD. And a significant chunk of that, 11,529 crore, or about $1.4 billion USD, was already contributed through FDI. So this move is really building on an existing foundation.
And this isn't just an isolated policy change for insurance, is it? It feels like part of a broader narrative.
You're right. It's positioned that way. Sitharaman also pointed to India's general attractiveness to foreign banks and reiterated strong policy support for investments across the entire financial sector. When she spoke at the India-UK Investor Roundtable in London recently, she specifically highlighted India's stable regulatory framework, its rapidly expanding middle class, and promising macroeconomic fundamentals as key drivers for investment.
And she linked this to a big ambition for the insurance market itself.
She did. All of this points to India aspiring to become the world's sixth largest insurance market by 2032.
Sixth largest. That's incredibly ambitious.
It is. But placing this in perspective, this reform is strategically positioned within that broader investment-centric narrative. It reflects India's clear intention to deepen its global financial integration. By removing these structural barriers like the equity gap, the government hopes to really invigorate the insurance landscape, increasing both its reach into the population and fostering greater innovation within the sector.
And addressing that underpenetration issue is key.
Absolutely critical. The underpenetration of insurance in India is a major economic and social issue. A vast portion of the population remains uninsured or underinsured for critical things like health, life, even property. This FDI boost aims to address that by bringing in more capital, more expertise, and hopefully more tailored products.
So it aligns with longer-term goals.
Yes, ultimately, this aligns with India's long-term development goals, driving financial inclusion for millions more citizens, improving overall risk management across the economy, and elevating India's standing in international financial services. The 100% FDI cap is a very strong signal. It shows India's pivot toward a more open and investor-friendly economic policy designed to attract significant global capital and compete more effectively with other emerging markets.
It suggests a move beyond just incremental reforms.
I think so. It points towards making bold structural changes to position India as a major destination for global capital, particularly in sectors like insurance that have historically been, a bit more protected.
But are there any voices in India raising concerns about this 100% cap, perhaps about potential foreign dominance of a critical sector, or the impact on smaller, homegrown insurance providers?
That's a valid point, and yes, there are always nuanced viewpoints when such significant policy shifts occur. It's never unanimous. While the government emphasizes the benefits capital inflow, competition, technology, some industry analysts and perhaps smaller local players do express concerns. Concerns about increased competition potentially marginalizing smaller domestic insurers who might lack the deep pockets or the global expertise of their international counterparts.
And the foreign control argument.
Yeah, there's also that long-standing debate about foreign control over critical financial sectors. It's a sensitivity in many countries, not just India. However, the prevailing sentiment, certainly in government and major economic circles, seems to be that the benefits greater capital, technological advancement, broader penetration for India's vast underserved population outweigh these potential risks. The underlying idea is that more players, more competition, ultimately means better products and services for the consumer, benefiting the entire economy in the long run.
Okay, makes sense. It's a balancing act.
Always is.
Culture, sports, and national identity, cricket's unstoppable spirit.
All right, let's take a momentary detour now, moving from the hard-hitting economic and geopolitical news to something that truly captures the national spirit in India and unites, well, hundreds of millions. Cricket.
Cricket, yes. Always a big story in India.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the Indian team is performing incredibly well in the Anderson-Tendulkar Trophy Series, currently underway in England. This is despite some pretty vocal criticism being directed at the head coach, Gautam Gambhir, for his tactical decisions. It really seems like a testament to the team's resolve.
Yeah, what's truly compelling here is the team's sheer resilience. Their ability to perform under pressure, even when there's significant external criticism swirling around the coach. Former cricketer Sanjay Manjrekar, who is often quite outspoken.
Yes, I know his commentary.
He's openly faulted Gambhir for multiple selection missteps, including, notably, the controversial omission of Karun Nair, a talented batsman many believed really deserved a spot in the side.
Right, that caused quite a stir.
It did. Yet, despite being down 2-1 in the 5-match test series, India showed remarkable tenacity by drawing the Manchester Test. And this was particularly impressive because they had conceded a massive first innings lead to England. They were really behind the 8 ball.
So they fought back from a tough position.
Exactly. To claw back from that kind of deficit and force a draw, especially when your coach is under fire. That takes some serious grit, strategic depth within the playing group, and, frankly, unwavering belief. It speaks volumes about the team's inner strength beyond just the coaching tactics.
And the details of that comeback are absolutely stunning, aren't they? Showcasing both individual brilliance and a massive collective effort.
Truly remarkable batting.
Led by the young phenom Shubman Gill, India's youthful squad delivered a genuinely historic batting performance in that Manchester Test. They scored an incredible 425 for 4 to force that draw and keep the series alive.
Just 4 wickets down, amazing concentration.
Incredible. Gill himself, along with Washington Sundar and Ravindra Jadeja, all scored magnificent centuries, just showcasing incredible skill and temperament under pressure. And KL Rahul also added a crucial 90 runs, really anchoring the innings at a key time.
So multiple players stepping up.
Big time. And their combined efforts weren't just about saving the match. They helped India break a 124-year-old world record.
A 124-year-old record. Think about that for a moment. That's incredible.
It really is. India achieved the remarkable feat of posting 350-plus totals in 7 out of 8 innings within this single series. That's the most by any team ever in a single test series. It surpasses benchmarks set by legendary Australian teams in multiple Ashes campaigns throughout history.
Wow. That kind of consistency at such a high scoring rate is phenomenal. It really speaks to the depth of talent and the adaptability within the Indian squad, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which brings up that vital question maybe. How much of this success is down to coaching, and how much is simply the inherent spirit and the profound depth of talent within the team itself?
It's always hard to disentangle, isn't it? Manjrekar, interestingly, despite his strong coaching criticisms, acknowledged these impressive results. He noted that India has consistently dominated gameplay for large periods, even when England managed to capitalize on key moments to win matches.
So the underlying performance is strong, regardless of tactics.
That seems to be his point. It suggests a team that creates opportunities, a team that has the firepower, even if some specific tactical decisions are questioned. And looking ahead, with the final test at the Oval starting on July 34, India still has a realistic shot at drawing the series 2-2. That would be an incredible comeback from being 2-1 down away from home.
A huge achievement if they pull it off.
Definitely. And the broader narrative here, I think, is India's capacity for renewal amidst controversy and pressure. It really highlights that squad depth and adaptability, especially among these emerging young talents, can genuinely transcend coaching disputes. It solidifies a team's competitive edge on the global stage.
So the Manchester match becomes iconic for different reasons.
Exactly. That Old Trafford match, despite any arguments about tactics, will absolutely be remembered for India's resilience, their world record achievement, and just a truly historic display of grit, skill, and batting prowess. It really underscores that for India, cricket isn't just a sport. It's often seen as a profound reflection of national identity, resilience, and ambition.
Well put.
Societal challenges and innovation, from digital scams to plant-based fast food.
Okay, now let's pivot again. We're looking at two very different, but I think equally insightful, headlines about societal dynamics in India. First, a really serious concern that highlights the darker side of digital advancement. Rajasthan's cyber police have arrested a 23-year-old man, Rahan Makandar, in Goa. He allegedly participated in something called a digital arrest scam.
Digital arrests, that sounds ominous.
It does. And that particular scam defrauded a 75-year-old Jaipur resident of a staggering 23.56 lakh.
Wow, that's over 2.35 million rupees, roughly $28,000 USD. A huge sum for an individual, especially an elderly one.
A devastating amount.
And the deeply manipulative modus operandi of these scams is truly alarming. It shows a new level of sophistication from cybercriminals.
How did this one work?
The victim was targeted through threatening phone calls. The callers posed as police officers, even high-level CBI officials. They essentially coerced him into transferring money across multiple transactions under the pretense of avoiding a fictitious digital arrest.
So they use fear and intimidation, pretending to be authorities.
Exactly. It's a chilling tactic that preys on fear of authority, fear of legal consequences, maybe confusion about digital processes. This case really spotlights the evolving and increasingly sophisticated nature of digital financial fraud in India. Criminals are leveraging fear and often a lack of digital literacy among certain demographics, particularly the elderly.
Are the police making headway?
Well, the investigation details are quite telling. The case was registered back on May 27th. 6 suspects were initially apprehended, names like Suresh Kumar, Prahlad Kumawat, Omprakash, Bhupesh Vishul, and Sunny Kumar. It was actually Sunny who revealed Makandar's specific role in the operation.
And what was Makandar's role?
It turns out he was specifically involved in managing cryptocurrency transactions using USDT or Tether. Authorities strongly suspect this was a conduit for laundering the stolen funds. Using crypto adds another layer of complexity, obviously, making the tracing of money even more challenging for law enforcement.
So the scam network uses modern tools.
Very much so. Makandar is currently being interrogated back in Jaipur, and the police anticipate making additional arrests as they work to map the broader network of this scam, which likely spans multiple states.
This incident really does highlight the growing vulnerability of elderly citizens to these sophisticated scams, doesn't it? It truly underscores the critical importance of cyber literacy and secure digital practices for everyone, but maybe especially for our seniors, who might not be as familiar with all the nuances of digital threats.
It's a constant battle to keep people informed.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder of how new technologies can be weaponized by criminals. Moving beyond simple phishing emails now to these highly elaborate, psychologically manipulative schemes. On the upside, this case also seems to reflect increasing collaboration among different state police forces in tracking and prosecuting cybercrime. They're focusing on dismantling these tech-enabled fraud rings that often operate across state lines.
Which is crucial given how borderless these crimes can be.
Indeed. The challenge is immense, though, given the speed and anonymity these criminals can achieve.
Right. Now, shifting gears completely, on a much different, more positive note, showing the innovative side of consumer adaptation and maybe a healthier trend, McDonald's India, specifically the West and South operations, has seen unprecedented demand for its newly launched Protein Plus Slice.
Protein Plus Slice, tell me more.
Get this. They sold over 32,000 of these slices within just 24 hours of launch.
32,000 in a day. That's huge demand. What is it?
It's India's first 100% vegetarian plant-based protein slice. It's meticulously designed to add 5 grams of protein to any burger, and customers can personalize their intake. They can add up to 3 slices to boost the protein content.
Interesting. Plant-based vegetarian that caters to a huge market in India.
Exactly. And the initial sales hotspots were quite telling. Mumbai led the charge, selling over 11,000 slices, followed by Pune and Ahmedabad with over 3,000 each. Then Bengaluru and Chennai added over 1,500 each. It signals really strong regional adoption for this new product right out of the gate. Clearly, there was an unmet demand.
This feels like a significant shift in India's quick service restaurant, or QSR, landscape. It's blending food science with consumer personalization in a really major way.
It seems so. And the development story is interesting, too.
How so?
This Protein Plus range was developed in collaboration with CSIR Central Food Technological Research Institute, CFTRI.
That's a government body, right? Under the Ministry of Science and Technology.
It is, so it shows a unique public-private partnership driving this kind of food innovation. And here's a cool detail for inclusivity. It contains no artificial flavors, and critically, no onion or garlic.
Ah, which makes it suitable for Jains and others with specific dietary restrictions.
Precisely, making it incredibly inclusive for diverse dietary preferences across India, where many adhere to specific food guidelines for religious or cultural reasons. Akshay Jatia, the CEO of Westlife Food World, which operates McDonald's in West and South India, highlighted their real food, real good philosophy, aiming to combine taste with nutrition, and it's clearly resonating. Even Maharashtra's Minister of State for FDA, Shri Yogesh Kadam, was present at the launch, which kind of underscores the importance the state government places on promoting healthier dietary options.
That's fascinating buy-in.
It is, and this brings up a vital question. How are global brands successfully adapting to unique local needs and dietary preferences in a market as diverse and complex as India?
Yeah, it's not always easy.
No. And beyond its clear commercial success, this rollout strategically positions McDonald's as a frontrunner in aligning global QSR practices with local scientific collaboration. It signals a corporate commitment not just to profit, but potentially to actively supporting public health initiatives and responding to changing consumer expectations, particularly among India's rapidly growing youth population and its increasingly health-conscious urban populations.
So it could have a wider impact.
I think so. If sustained, this innovation could really reshape the Indian fast food market, setting a precedent for nutrient-dense customization without compromising on flavor. That feels like a truly notable pivot from just, indulgence towards consumer empowerment, giving people more control over their food choices and nutritional intake.
A template for how global giants can succeed by truly understanding and integrating local insights.
Exactly.
Governance, rights and geopolitical pressures, the balance of power.
Okay, let's move now to our final section, covering a deeply contentious issue with significant implications for civil liberties and democratic discourse in India. The Maharashtra government has introduced a controversial new law. It specifically targets so-called urban Maoists.
Urban Maoists. That term itself is highly charged and debated.
It is, and critics are arguing this dangerously conflates legitimate dissent, criticism of the government, activism with terrorism, creating a chilling effect on free speech. The term itself is incredibly vague. It lacks any clear legal definition, yet it's used expansively by prominent political leaders, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself, who recently accused opposition leader Rahul Gandhi of speaking the language of urban Naxals.
Right, using it as a political label.
Exactly. This label, loosely and ominously applied, essentially allows the state to brand virtually anyone who critiques the government or challenges the status quo as an internal threat.
And what's profoundly concerning here from a legal and rights perspective is how broadly this law could potentially be applied. It seems to reach far beyond traditional notions of criminal or violent activity.
How so?
Well, it appears to criminalize not just actions, but perceived intentions and expressions. If a police officer claims to detect Maoist intent in someone's expression, and that could be anything, a poem recited at a public gathering, a painting displayed in an exhibition, a political cartoon published online, even a nuanced academic speech, that individual can potentially be charged under these new provisions.
Just based on a police officer's interpretation of intent?
That seems to be the implication, and that's what worries critics. Its scope appears to extend far beyond previous anti-terror legislation, like the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA, or the Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act, MDOCA. Those laws, while already stringent, generally targeted specific acts or affiliations. This new law seems to give authorities sweeping powers to target cultural and political expression itself.
Can you give an example of how that might play out?
Well, think about this, and it might sound extreme, but artistic works. Seminal films like Shinam Benagol's Ankur, which explores agrarian exploitation, or Satyajit Ray's Harak Rajar Day, a brilliant musical fantasy that critiques oppressive rule. Critics worry that works like these could conceivably fall within the law's purview simply based on an interpretation of Maoist intent by an enforcing officer. It broadens the scope dramatically.
That represents a significant potential escalation in the suppression of free speech, which is, I mean, a foundational democratic right, isn't it?
Fundamentally.
And we've seen examples in the past, haven't we? Like members of the Kabir Kala Manch, that cultural troupe you mentioned earlier. They were imprisoned for years simply over protest songs that were controversially labeled as urban naxalism.
Precisely. That case is often cited as a worrying precedent.
So critics are squarely arguing that the BJP-led government is exploiting national security rhetoric here, using it to silence civil society, intimidate political opposition, and stifle artistic freedom, creating a pervasive chilling effect across all forms of public discourse.
And this brings up a vital question about the core principles. What are the implications for constitutional rights and democratic accountability in India?
Right. Freedom of expression.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By prioritizing what seems like ideological policing over legal clarity and due process, the law raises serious constitutional concerns about freedom of expression, the right to dissent, and the very foundation of a democratic society. The ambiguity embedded in the term urban Maoist appears, to critics at least, deliberately crafted to widen the net of prosecution. It unsettles activists, academics, journalists, creators alike, anyone who might now fear expressing critical viewpoints that could be misinterpreted or, worse, weaponized.
So the vagueness itself is a tool.
It can be perceived that way. If enforced broadly, it risks turning Maharashtra's vibrant cultural and intellectual landscape into a legal minefield where dissenting voices are preemptively punished under the guise of safeguarding order rather than upholding fundamental liberties. This isn't just a legalistic concern. It has a profound chilling effect on civic participation and public debate elements absolutely crucial for a healthy democracy.
A very serious development to watch. Okay, and finally, let's look at a major geopolitical pressure point, one that could significantly impact India's economic and strategic future. We're talking about China's rare earth export ban.
Ah, yes, the rare earths issue. Always critical.
And this ban is poised to disrupt India's production and exports across 5 major sectors: transport equipment, basic metals, machinery, construction, and electrical and electronics.
That's a broad swath of the manufacturing economy.
It really is. And rare earths are, as you know, absolutely critical inputs for advanced manufacturing. Everything from electric vehicles and semiconductors to renewable energy systems like wind turbines and even crucial defense applications. They're indispensable for modern technology.
And the broader implication here, when we connect this to global supply chain vulnerabilities, is that India's reliance on China for these critical resources becomes glaringly clear and deeply problematic.
How reliant is India?
Well, let's look at the numbers. Rare earth elements aren't just one thing. They're a group of 17 distinct chemical elements crucial for their unique magnetic, catalytic, and optical properties. They're the sort of hidden ingredients in almost every piece of advanced tech we use. In the fiscal year 2025, India's imports of rare earth compounds were valued at $31.9 million. But imports of finished rare earth magnets reached a much higher $291 million.
Okay, so significant imports, especially process magnets.
Right, and consumption volumes have steadily increased over the years, reflecting a growing reliance on Chinese supply chains. China currently dominates over 80% of the global rare earth processing and refining capacity. The State Bank of India, SBI, recently put out a report highlighting this very issue. China overwhelmingly dominates India's rare earth trade. This leaves domestic industries incredibly vulnerable to sudden, potentially politically motivated shifts in Chinese policy, like this export ban.
And the impact goes beyond just manufacturers.
Potentially, yes. Even financial institutions, particularly banks, could face indirect repercussions due to their exposure to these affected industrial sectors. Think loan defaults, reduced investment in these key manufacturing areas. If they can't get the materials they need, the impact could spread through the economy.
So what does this all mean for India's strategy going forward? What's the response?
Well, that SBI report stresses the urgency. India must develop indigenous capabilities to reduce this dangerous reliance on imports. It's become a strategic imperative.
What are the recommendations?
They recommend targeted exploration initiatives. They cite promising examples like Odisha's 8,000 crore mineral development scheme that's roughly $950 million USD, which includes efforts to find rare earths, and specific exploration efforts already underway in places like the Ganjam district. Also crucial are building strategic reserves, much like countries do with oil, and actively incentivizing private sector involvement in the whole chain rare earth extraction, refining, and processing.
So boosting domestic capacity across the board.
Exactly. Which brings up the vital question. How can India achieve long-term strategic planning and ensure its national security when facing such critical dependencies on a geopolitical rival?
Right, it's more than just economics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the long term, India really must pursue vertical integration, moving beyond just digging up raw materials to actually refining them and doing the advanced manufacturing of rare earth components domestically. This strategy needs to be complemented by strengthening technological partnerships with other countries like Australia, Japan, maybe Vietnam, the U.S. countries that have significant rare earth expertise or reserves and processing capabilities.
Diversifying suppliers and partners.
Crucial. It's not just about sourcing, it's about sharing knowledge and building resilient supply chains with trusted partners. This ban from China, it just further amplifies global concerns over Beijing's growing practice of resource weaponization.
Using its dominance in critical minerals as leverage.
Precisely. Leveraging that dominance to exert economic and geopolitical pressure. So for India, the challenge isn't just economic, it's profoundly geopolitical. It demands swift and decisive institutional action to secure its technological future and maintain competitiveness across these key manufacturing verticals. It's fundamentally about building national resilience from the ground up.
A huge strategic challenge indeed. Outro. Wow, what an absolutely incredible journey through the multifaceted landscape of India today. I mean, really covering the gamut. From those fundamental shifts impacting its IT industry due to AI, to the delicate dance of geopolitical assertions and domestic political scrutiny over national security.
Right, then there's significant economic policy reforms opening doors to capital.
And even those fascinating cultural reflections through sports and consumer innovation, like the McDonald's slice, we've truly seen a nation in constant motion.
And then finishing with that critical look at how governance, rights, and global supply chains are challenging its future. Indeed. What these headlines collectively reveal, I think, is a country grappling with both immense opportunities and really complex, interconnected challenges. Each piece of news, which might seem isolated at first glance, actually connects to this larger narrative of India asserting its place in a rapidly changing world, all while navigating these profound internal transformations that will define its trajectory for decades to come.
It really is a story of resilience, ambition, and profound adaptation, as you said. So what does this all mean for you, the learner, as you process these insights? Perhaps it's this question to ponder. In a world of constant flux and increasing interconnectedness, where do you see the greatest opportunity for India to pivot, to innovate, to truly define its own path? Especially when facing both technological disruption from things like AI and external geopolitical pressures like supply chain weaponization with rare earths. How can it balance that rapid economic growth imperative with civil liberties and social stability at home?
Yeah, that's the core challenge. We've given you a lot to think about today, a lot to mull over. We really encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep digging deeper into the forces shaping this incredible, dynamic country. There's always more beneath the headlines.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep that curiosity alive.